Hello, my beloveds. It's Chrissy K. Rollins here, bringing you just a little live stream talking about mindful eating tips for restoration as we go into week 4 of your 40 days to personal transformation. And this week's focus is all about restoration. We had a gorgeous gathering last night. I honor everyone who was able to come out and to attend, and I honor Catherine for delivering such a beautiful yoga nidra workshop. What a glorious experience that was. And what I really loved about it is that it allowed space. It allowed space. And when we bring in space, that is where restoration can begin. I'm getting chills just talking about this. This is what the 3-day fruit feast is all about. Allowing space between the ways that you're used to consuming and relating and moving into engaging with food. Hey, Linda, so glad you're here live. If anybody joins live, please just chat in, say hello. If you have any questions, you can bring them to the table. But what that space does is that it allows for more options. When you have more options, you got more choices. When you have more choices, you can lead to different results. And I think that that's what transformation is all about. Honoring this desire in our hearts to allow ourselves an evolution. And when I was thinking about mindful eating tips for restoration in particular, I did the great little tips for going on the fruit feast. So make sure you go back and watch that. If you're having any hesitations or reservations, or if you just want to expand your thinking around this 3-day fruit feast, go back and watch that live stream as well. And in that one, I speak more specifically and great strategies for going into this 3-day fruit feast. But today I want to talk specifically about restoration, because yes, we're restoring our body's structures, our body's functions, our body's communication, the hardwiring system of our physical self. We are restoring by flooding it with these great quality nutrients and doing the fruit feast this week. However, I wanted to expand your thinking of restoration beyond just putting in those physical building blocks and looking at the body as something that's broken down and now we need to restore it. And instead, I wanted to expand that thinking. So as you're going into the fruit feast, as you're getting to know yourself on these more intimate levels, which is how I invite you to look at this fruit feast as an invitation to learn yourself better, to get to know yourself better. And you are so deserving to have this intimate knowledge about how you relate to food, how you approach food, how you experience yourself when you give space between food, when you break out of food habits and start reaching for conscious food choices. I believe that it is essential that you get to know yourself on this level and that you use this week, allow this week to be just another layer of self-discovery, another layer of inquiry, as Victoria is so beautifully skilled at reminding us that that's what this 40-day journey is really about, being with inquiry and getting to know yourself on those deeper levels. So as you go into restoring the body with these great essential nutrients, I also invite you to take some time to contemplate about restoring what you innately know to be true. Restoring your life to living more aligned with your truth. Restoring the connection that you have with your inner self, with your inner guidance, with your inner wisdom, with your inner intelligence. Taking the time to restore the relationship, the connection that you have with yourself is, to me, what this week is really focused on. And that's where the beauty of the fruit feast comes in, because when you give your body a break from heavy digestion, when you clear it of all these things that typically weigh it down, as you allow it to build itself back up internally, you are giving yourself the space, once again, to have better mental function, to have better connection and clarity in your thought process, in your own reflective time. You're going to be able to get to your truth more easily, more clearly, more succinctly than when you have it clouded up with sugars and breads and pastas and alcohols and caffeines. Now that I mentioned the word caffeine, I'm going to talk about this a little bit too, because I wanted to touch on this as part of the conversation that happened last night. And if you missed the in-person gathering, you will have missed this conversation. Some of the questions that came up around the fruit feast itself is, can we use seasonings like salt on the fruit or cayenne pepper on the fruit? Now, what Victoria had encouraged is that if you're used to using, spices, like hot spices, like chilies on your fruit, then just opt for using fresh jalapeno. Use those natural fruit chilies to add in that heat and bring in that spice. If you are feeling called to use salt, I'm going to allow that to be your own choice at your own discretion. What I will invite you to do and encourage you to take some time to reflect over is to just not do it. If you're used to doing it, if you're used to having your fruit with this seasoning, if you find that enhances your fruit experience, I think that that's a beautiful thing to know about yourself. But I also think it's a beautiful thing to know about yourself what it's like to go without that. So if in your day-to-day life, whenever you go to have fruit, you typically season it in some way, I'm going to invite you to consider going into this 3-day fruit feast not doing that. Give yourself space to see what happens when you don't add that. Give yourself space to see what happens when you break out of your daily habits and go into this pure, fresh baseline experience to just see what happens. After 3 days, you can add whatever you want. After 3 days, get back into that caffeine and that alcohol if that's what feels right and true to you. But if you don't take that space to just explore what is it like without it, you're not really ever going to know, am I doing this because my inner self says this is what honors me best? Or am I doing it because every time I do it this way and I've never tried it some other way? This is an exploration. This is getting to know yourself. This is restoring your connection to yourself. And some of these little default habits stop us from being connected because we stay connected to our default survival egoic way of going through life, not our true internal self's nudging and guidance for life. So if you want to season, there is no right or wrong way. Please take time to reflect on that yourself. I encourage you to go for high quality. I encourage you to go for fresh when possible. And I encourage you to give space and do not do the things you were used to doing to your fruit, to just see what happens for those 3 days. Learn about yourself for those 3 days. And I had someone also ask about frozen fruits. Can we use frozen fruits? By all means, absolutely. You can use frozen fruits, you can use salt, you can use cayenne pepper, you can do whatever you want. This is your 40 days. However, I'm going to bring the same exact thing to this conversation that we're just touching on with the seasonings. If you're accustomed to having frozen fruit in your diet, give yourself fresh fruit for these 3 days. Give yourself space and time to connect to the energy of that unprocessed, fresh food. Just give yourself space to do that. Use ice with your fruit if you're going to make a smoothie instead of using the frozen fruit. And just see the difference when you have that vitality, that freshness, that live pulsing energy versus that frozen block to preserve something and hold it for another time. There's a redness, there's a wisdom in live food. And I invite you to take time to restore your connection with that intelligence as well over these 3 days. And then the last thing that we talked about as far as like dietary stuff is caffeine, because this is something that's in a lot of our diets. And I'm going to tell you this. I think I might have touched on it on an earlier live that I did, but I'll just touch on it briefly. I have had coffee in my life 2 to 3 cups a day, almost every single day, consistently for probably about a year to 18 months, consistently. A few weeks back, my body said we need to take a break. Actually, it had been kind of nudging towards it for a while. I've been getting little nudges, like noticing that I'm just kind of doing it out of habit more so than true desire. But there was part of me that was scared to stop because I didn't want to deal with the caffeine withdrawals. And I was concerned that I was going to have them. But then one day my body said, Chrissy, coffee, give it a break. And I said, okay, I'm going to take this time to really act on it because I can tell you really don't want it. I'm going to honor the fact that you really don't want it. And I'm going to just switch over to tea today. And I switched over to an herbal tea. So I still had my warm coffee sensation-esque experience, but it was a little bit fresher, a little bit cleaner taste, and it was still warm and soothing. And guess what happened? No caffeine headaches. and I totally switched over to teas, herbal teas. Sometimes I'll have like a little bit of caffeinated tea in there, like a black tea or a chai tea, but typically it's an herbal based tea, and I had no caffeine headaches. So give yourself the space to also not have adverse side effects. If you're scared to go without the caffeine, if you're scared about what your body's going to do, be proactive. Super ultra hydrate. A lot of the withdrawal effects, a lot of hangover effects, a lot of morning sickness effects comes down to only one thing, and that is lack of proper hydration. You keep yourself well hydrated, your body will not be seeking out that caffeine to the same degree as if you are chronically dehydrated and is also looking for that caffeine. So again, if you're feeling this like, I don't want to give up caffeine, honor the fact that your body may be just fine without it. Honor the fact that it may need to be just like kind of prime the pups with a lot of water and keep that water pumping so you don't get into that dehydration effect, right? And switch over to herbal teas or an organic decaf coffee. Organic decaf does have a little bit of caffeine to it, but what's beautiful about an organic decaf coffee, especially black, when you don't add any sugar or cream or any of that other stuff that can throw it off, it has a pH balance of neutral, which is something that our body's striving for at all times. So either switch over, I invite you to consider switching over to an organic decaf or switching over to an herbal tea. Again, just do it for these 3 days. Again, you deserve the right to know yourself on this level. You deserve the right to restore that connection to your own internal intelligence and guidance system. And if it's being clouded, covered up with seasonings and flavors and caffeine and other things, you might not be having a true connection to yourself. And again, it's 3 days. And I know that that can seem like a lot when there's a lot of things happening in the world and you're worried this is going to take you out your game. But we heard from a gal last night at the gathering who had already started her 3-day feast. She said she was a little bit concerned about it, but she's loving it. She didn't find her energy drop. She found that she had more energy. She didn't find that she's hungry. She's finding that she's more satisfied. And there's a good chance you're going to have the same experience, but you got to get out of this thing and into action to prove that this thing is crazy and wrong. But I'm going to encourage you to not call it crazy and wrong, to honor that that's part of what is being asked to be restored, that connection to yourself. Listen to those concerns. They're valid. Listen to the fears. The one who is feeling them, they are real, even if they're not real fears. So allow this again. This is about self-discovery. This is about inquiry. This is about learning yourself. This isn't about forcing yourself into a regimen. It's about learning how you react when presented with a better way and how you react when it comes to setting down all of your survival ways. That's really what this comes down to. Okay, I hope that was super duper helpful. And my last tip around all of this, when it comes to restoring this connection with yourself, when it comes to restoring your body, I think it's very important, especially if you're like 3 days of fruit, I cannot do it. I talked to this on the Fruit Feast tips live as well. But if you're finding yourself in that space where it's like, I can't make it through the day, I can't make it through 3 days, I can't just eat fruit. Instead of just focusing on what you cannot do, start to ask yourself, what can I do? I know myself well, Chrissy. I cannot eat fruit for 3 days. Okay, you know that about yourself. Beautiful, congratulations. Now, I ask you, what can you do for the next hour? Can you eat fruit for the next hour? Can you eat fruit from 9 to 12, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m.? Can you just commit that starting tomorrow morning or whatever day you're going to start this on, that when you wake up, you're not going to take it 3 days. You're going to take it 3 hours. And when you hit that 3-hour mark, you're going to extend yourself the grace of another 3 hours. And when you prove to yourself that you can do it for another 3 hours, guess what you're going to do? You're going to extend to yourself the grace for another 3 hours. And if you need to break that down to hour by hour or moment by moment, that's what you do, because that's what you do for a loved one. And that's what you deserve. You deserve the space. That's the point of this. It isn't to force you into 3 days of eating fruit. It's to give you the opportunity to figure out for yourself why you don't do what honors you, why you are in default patterns, and what default habits you have in place that are overriding your true desires. That's what it's all about. So when you can't do it all, you break it down. What can I do for today? What can I do until noon? What can I do for the next hour? What can I do for the next 20 minutes? What can I do right now? And you can interweave your meditation into your eating practice. You can make each time that you sit down with food a meditative experience. You can take one deep breath between each bite. Space, restoration, vitality, getting to know yourself. That's what this is all about. All right. If I can support you in any way, reach out to me. If you have any thoughts, comments, feedback, takeaways from what you just witnessed, drop it in the comments below. Hey, Andrea, so glad you're here, babe. Most importantly, I would love to know, how does all this feel? This is a feeling journey, a feeling experience. So how does all this feel to you? I would love your feedback. I am excited to see how this week unfolds. I am here to support in any way possible. I will see you all again on Sunday. And if I can do anything in the meantime, reach out. I love you. You're beautiful and amazing. Bye.
Batteries for this, please, Mom.